office hour 5, and we have a special guest with us today. For those of you who maybe had joined the 2 sessions before now, this will just be a very good grand finale for you today, because we have someone that those of you who know him will have been dying to hear his stories. I can see the numbers of attendees jumping up more than what we typically even have in other sessions. So, Ahmed, it looks like the whole build-up of expectations towards your session is really high, and I'm sure they are going to be really, I don't want to use the word tantalized, but everybody is eager to hear your story.
Yeah, you guys should just
Okay,
kind of
so
like
I'm not
take
going
it
to
easy
waste
on
too
me.
much time, sending as much of your questions. Ahmed needs no introduction. In fact, some people see his picture and they know him already. So it's not until we put his name before people begin to connect the dot. So welcome, Ahmed, and the floor is yours. And so you're live.
All right, so hello everybody, and thank you very much, Michael, for putting this up. I hope you guys can hear me. Yep, so I would like to see people drop some chats in the comment area so that we can make this very interactive. So first, can you confirm that you can hear me? Michael, please.
Yes, I hear you clearly. Yeah, super
All right,
clear.
so okay, excellent. So it's nice for us to connect on this platform, and I'm very glad that what Michael is doing, because it allows people that are kind of like people that want to told this journey that we are going through. They'll have an experience of what it looks like to be a Power BI. I won't say a Power BI expert, but you guys can be expert, but I am not an expert. I'm still a Power BI learner. But I think I have a kind of like a roadmap of what it takes to be an expert. So it's part of what we are going to be sharing today. And I think the best part of this journey is the kind of opportunity that it opens up for anyone that goes through the path. And I should start by sharing my career journey with you, I guess, right? So let me know if I'm off track, Michael, so that you can, just in case I start to talk too much on a couple of things. So I started out as a bloody banker. That's what I always call it, a bloody banker. So I always tell people that there are 2 types of bankers. So there is a banker and there is a bloody banker. So it's unfortunate if you happen to be a banker and you're on this platform and I kind of like classify you as a bloody banker. I'm so sorry for that, but I'm really talking about myself now. So when I say bloody banker, what I mean is this. So there are 2 types. So there is one person that kind of like sits somewhere in the head office, kind of maybe the person is able to work on things that are strategic in nature. So for example, you work in financial control, you work with audit department, you work with strategy departments, you work with all those kind of strategic units basically. Then you are a banker, or maybe you work with treasury, you're a banker. But if you work in a branch within a bank, which we always call branch operations, then I say you are a bloody banker. So I will explain what that means. So what I mean by that is this. If you spend 2 years within that role, then I would say the most things you would take out of that in terms of experience is going to be like office skills. You don't really have cost marketable skills that you can take out. So in my time in the bank, for example, I worked in customer service department for 4 years. So I interact with customers every day, and for those 4 years, the only thing I took out was office skills, how to print, how to set papers, how to do a couple of 1 or 2 things. I knew absolutely nothing about Microsoft Excel. I knew nothing about MS Word, nothing about PowerPoint. The only thing I knew how to use was the bank's core application, and that I could use very well. So back then we used to think that if you can soak in the pressure of working in a bank, then you can work anywhere. And that's a big fat lie, because working in a bank is only going to put you under pressure every now and then because of the volume of work you have to do. But the truth is, you don't have to apply any special skills for you to be a successful banker. And like I was telling someone the other day, if a banker, a bloody banker, basically loses his or her job from branch operations, then the only opportunity that person has is either to go and get another job in another bank, or to go get a job in ShopRite or places like that, because those are the kind of places that have similar experiences that you can easily transit to. So, but luckily for me, I was able to get out when I was still a little bit young, and 4 years in banking wasn't like too much for me. Actually, I had a plan in mind, and the plan was to spend only 5 years. So being able to get out after 4 years was excellent for me. So getting out, I was able to get into the consulting space, and maybe if you have a brief of my history, then you would know that I worked with D Brown Consulting for another 4 years. So it was at D Brown that I started to pick up all of the skills that I have today: Excel skills, Power BI skills, financial modeling skills, Microsoft Office skills, and all of those things. But then I will tell you that at the very beginning, it was extremely challenging for me. As a matter of fact, when I got in on my first day and I was supposed to create a report in an Excel, and is a story I like to share a lot. Most of you must have heard about that story before. So I was creating that report on Excel, and it got to a point where I was manually typing in what my comments for each of my lines are. So, in Excel, you can have a couple of columns, and we always keep that last column for comments. So I was typing in my comments manually when David just walked by, and he was like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I said, "I was typing in the comments for this my report." And I was like, "Is this what you are doing? You are trying to count a couple of things and then you are manually typing it out." Then he wrote one if formula in one of those cells and dragged it down all the way down, and all the comments that had been written manually before just got populated all at once. So for me, it was like magic, and I think at that point I was regretting resigning from my bank's role. I thought, wow, this is crazy. This is just like magic. I'm not sure I was going to make it in this industry. Can I make it in this consulting? Was all the questions I had. But the good thing is that kind of pressure is what pushes me, or what pushed me rather, into going to dig deeper and ensure that I was able to acquire all the skills that I needed to survive on the job. Because it wouldn't be nice for you to get a job somewhere and within a couple of months you get sacked. It doesn't make sense at all. In fact, it's going to demoralize that kind of person, especially knowing fully well that the person is being sacked because of lack of skills. Okay, so that was the beginning of the journey for me. Excel was the beginning basically, and I would always advise anyone that wants to go into the data field to always start from Excel. Excel creates a very solid foundation for you to transit into the coding world, the tech world, data science, and everything. And another thing is this, right? So for people that were unable to start from Excel, or people that don't have that Excel background and kind of like just jumped into one of those languages, you jump into Python, you jump into R, or all those data science tools, and you have little or zero Excel background, you will notice that there are some things that you would have been able to use your Excel experience to easily manipulate in those languages and those tools, but you will find yourself spending a lot of time doing them in your newly found tool, which you think or believe you are an expert in that tool. So Excel is always a journey. So if you are taking notes now, then you should know that either for you or for someone you are trying to advise, number one skill you need to pick up on your journey for data science or data analytics expertise is Microsoft Excel. Then when you have your Excel skills in pocket like I did, then I was able to do a couple of things in finance as well. So for example, now if you have zero Excel knowledge, then you have no business building financial models. Or if you have little Excel knowledge, you have no business building financial models. So Excel is a concrete background for anyone who wants to go into finance as well. So some people actually think Excel is made because of finance people. So I now transited from Excel into a little bit of finance, building financial models and training people how to build financial models as well. So because I have a background in accounting, so my accounting background is what really helped me. And at that point, I wasn't really clear as to what I would like to go with. Should I go on the data analytics side, or should I go on the financial consulting side? So at that point, I was really enjoying finance, but at some point in time, I realized that finance is not so easy. I don't know if any one of you here builds financial models. Can I see people chat? Anyone here with finance experience? Anyone?
So typically, the Microsoft Teams stuff used to have like a 20 seconds lag. So your answer here might come like 30 seconds from now.
Oh, interesting.
But I'll be monitoring. I'm also trying to cross post.
All right. Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you are the kind of person that builds models, of course, Michael will be able to relate with this. If I ask Michael now, so financial modeling or data analytics, which one gives you the most headache?
Financial modeling, no.
Yeah, so that's the point. So financial modeling can be very, very stressful. At the same time, imagine if you have if you get a job, for example, if I have two jobs to do now, I have a job that involves financial modeling and I have a job that involves data analytics, and they are both offering the same kind of amounts. Of course, it's going to be a no-brainer. I'm going to have to go with my data analytics job because that is easier to implement, not like in every case. So there can be some very complex cases as well. But financial modeling every now and then requires like a 200% attention. 200% attention. There is little room for errors and all of those things. But on your data analytics job, for example, then you can have more space, to play with things. You can juggle, you can explore in different ways. But in a financial modeling job, you don't have that option. So when I got into the Power BI space initially, of course, we were doing a lot of analysis on Excel. So before Power BI came, Excel could also do analytics. We were deploying analytics solutions using Excel as well. But when Power BI came in 2015, that was when the game changed for me. Okay. So, and what really changed the game was, I always tell people that initially, the first time you encounter Power BI as an Excel user, then you are not going to like what you see, because you just discover that most of the things that you could do easily in Excel are not so easy for you to implement on Power BI. That's because of the foundation of how you learn the Power BI. Okay, so if you learn Power BI from the grounds up, then you would first of all learn that Power BI works differently from Excel, and you need to understand how the language thinks. Okay, so it thinks differently from the way Excel thinks. If you write equals to sum in Excel and you write equals to sum in Power BI, they are doing two different things. They are both summing up, but the way they arrive at that sum is entirely different because the engines think differently. Okay, so initially I did like what I was getting with Power BI, but then I kind of like continued to push myself, and I remember that one of the first things I did on Power BI was to kind of like create a report internally. So create an internal report with internal data. And with that internal report, I was able to kind of like get my hands onto something that is real, something that can add value to the organization. Then I realized that, wow, so actually there are some things that are actually cooler for you to do on Power BI than it is for you to do in Excel. So I think that journey actually started in 2016. So Power BI was launched in 2015. I saw it, I downloaded the tool, opened it up, I didn't like it, dumped it one side until 2016 that I now took it seriously. So just think about it. This is 2020 and we are just talking about 2016. That's just 4 years ago. A lot has happened within that 4 years. Okay. So, and what I really liked about Power BI that now developed my interests the most is the fact that, number one, it created an avenue for people to come in. So Excel, for example, Excel has like, I would say, a couple of million experts around the world already that take Excel as a career. So Excel consultants, I can tell you they won't be less than 1 million. But Power BI was new, so it created an avenue for me to try something new and kind of like become one of the best, which I'm still trying to live up to that dream. So become one of the best in that space so that it could create that opportunity for me to do what I will call my own dream. So most people's dream is to have their own setup, really. And one of the best ways you can do that is to acquire skills. So if you acquire skills, then you can employ yourself. Okay. So I now started to take Power BI seriously. The first thing I did, I always advise everybody to follow my own path. Of course, my path, the path I follow doesn't work for everybody. So I would like to ask Michael, after I state my own path, let me ask Michael, how did he go about his own journey? So for me, the first thing I did was get a couple of books on Power BI, read them cover to cover. Of course, I didn't practice anything, not like read something, then practice it, just like reading in theory now. So read the book from cover to cover, then went to take a Power BI course online, that EDX course about Power BI 778, analyzing and visualizing data with Power BI on EDX. It's usually a free course there. So I took that course, and everything was falling in place because I already read a book that talked about most of these things. So there is something about reading. Reading books always give you more details that you can get from a video. So now watching that video just simplified the whole thing for me. So as soon as what's his name, William Thompson, I think, or something, Will, as soon as Williams is talking about something and is trying to explain a concept, then I can easily relate with it and flow with that video. So by the time I was done with the EDX course, then I came out like 80% better than I was previously. And that was when I felt like, wow, okay, so I think I can do this. And after that, I now went back to understand that, okay, so this Power BI of a thing actually has different skill sets that you need to embark on to really become an expert. So I first of all realized that of all the consultants that we have out there, all the Power BI consultants that are out there, and those guys are writing blogs, creating YouTube videos, they all specialize in different things. Okay, so if you subscribe to my Russo channel now, SQL BI on YouTube, or you just subscribe to their blog post as well, you will see that they only write about DAX, just DAX alone. If you go to subscribe to Chris Webb or you subscribe to Ken Pause, you will see that those guys only take Power Query, right? But then one person that kind of like does a little bit of everything, which is the kind of thing that we are also doing. So myself and Michael as well, and all the other guys in Nigeria, the kind of things that we also do is to kind of like deepen our knowledge in each of those areas. So Michael can do a lot on Power Query. I can do a lot on Power Query. We can write on Power Query. We can create videos on Power Query. At the same time, we can also do the dark side of things. We can provide support and do all those things. We can create visualizations. So one person that does all of those things is Reza Rad. Reza Rad is, I can't remember the name of the company, Radacard. Okay, so Radacard, if you follow Radacard on YouTube as well, then you will see Reza Rad with his wife, Leila Etati. So Leila is Reza's wife. I found out like just 1 year ago. So I used to think they were just partners. They were actually husband and wives. So, and it was the first Power BI book I read was Reza Rad's book, which is Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar. So that book has now been disintegrated into 4 different sections now. So there is a Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar. There is a Power BI DAX. There is a Power BI Power Query. There is Power BI Architecture, which is about deployment. So if you get those books alone from Reza Rad alone, then you will be on a smooth ride into becoming an expert. Okay, but then you always have to follow up your knowledge on each of those core areas of Power BI, which is the dark side of things, the Power Query and data preparation side of things, and the visualization side. So when I say DAX, I actually mean the data modeling and the DAX aspect as well. So reading separate books for each of those ones was now what helped me to develop better in those areas as well. So Michael.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I was asking.
right?
Yeah. So I was asking, how was it like for you developing your own skill sets in Power BI?
Okay. So mine was a bit different though. So the way it came to me was it came in form of a better dashboard because in the beginning, Power BI, all those Power Query, Power Map, Power View,
Yeah.
You know, that Power BI it suffered me because that thing used to have JavaScript.
Yeah.
So all those things were like add-ins in Excel. And that was the way at first I was exposed to it. So I'm like, okay, this looks like a super nice way to do dashboards though. And like, let me just learn it. So I even got this Microsoft book.
Okay.
About Power BI in Excel. You never would know that Power BI at that period did not spin it off. So that was the only book I could even find when I searched. I'm sure there will have been others, but that was the one I came across easily. And that time Microsoft used to give us if you through that book you will see some demo that I was able to download. You know, sometimes when they write book, they will say go to aka.ms/ to download supporting material. So the supporting materials were even in Excel. So you will open it, and then you needed to have the version of Excel that has the Power Query. Those things were add-ins, unlike now that Power Query embedded. So that was how I got exposed to it. So my own idea was this was a nicer, because that time the slicer, you know, they put some demos where, you know, the way the slicers in Power BI always look nicer than the one in Excel, and all those things were like that. So it sucked me in, but I never saw how I was going to use it for a practical job. I was just like, okay, this is something new that is interesting. And then what now brought it to a serious level for me was it was actually Microsoft. So in maybe 2015 end or 2016. So someone from Microsoft, because Microsoft do get requests where a company wants Microsoft to demo for them, you know, for their maybe it's their CIO. Okay, great. So Microsoft used to get all these requests from companies. So the particular company in this case was Jagal group of company. Demo to them what Power BI. They wanted to understand the capabilities of Power BI and some other Microsoft. So someone there, I remember his name, Femi, I can't remember his last name, he reached out to me because that time I was MVP. So it was easy for them to just look up who are MVPs in that Excel space, and there was no Power BI MVP that time. So he now told me to do the demo. Unfortunately, those people didn't take up Power BI. They took something else. They had some issues. They wanted to use it to do financial statements. And Power BI has problem with you leaving spaces. You know, you have to leave space before you go to like fixed asset and all. And Power BI was not nice with those things. So they decided it was not going to work for what they wanted. But the thing was, they now recommended me again to Promasidor, and those ones actually wanted it. They were already sold. So it became a case of I had to consult for them. So I had to go and learn it now. You know, when you have to learn something to teach, to do a job, you now have to be forced. So that was where my serious learning started. All the things I was learning, like let me just be exposed. Now I became learn to solve a problem, and that was where my own journey started from Power BI.
Okay, so
that's my own kind of story.
The very funny thing about this story you just mentioned now is the time I knew you was after I think Promasidor deployed Power BI. So somehow I got to learn that Promasidor had deployed Power BI. So as far as I was concerned, then Power BI was like very new, and I felt we were the only ones that was talking about Power BI back then, as at that time. So for me to now hear that somebody has actually deployed Power BI for a company, I was like, who is that person in this Nigeria that deployed Power BI for a company? I heard the person's name is Michael Lafusi. So I was like, who is this Michael Lafusi of a guy? Then I looked up Michael Lafusi. I saw Microsoft Excel MVP. Okay, so there is one guy like this. So I don't know if you can remember this meetup we had at Microsoft Office. I think, which year was that? That should be 2016 as well. Yeah?
Maybe 2017, thereabouts.
Okay, maybe 2016 or 2017. So when I heard about that meetup, I was not like, okay, so let me go for this meetup and let me go and meet Michael. So Michael is not going to remember, but we met first at that meetup, and I took your card. You can't remember this, obviously. So and I collected your card back then, like, okay, so this person must be a guru to have deployed this very new technology that I was still struggling to understand at that time. So, and it also, your story also now reminds me of how I got into the Power Query space as well. You mentioned something that you were trying to learn about Power View, and then there was scarcity of materials at that time. So I also remember that there was also scarcity of materials on Power Query. So because one of my early successes that kind of like brought me to like Power BI as well is that Power Query of a thing. I would say that I kind of like even mastered Power Query before I ventured into Power BI fully, because we had a project we were working on back then that required us to combine like 60 Excel worksheets together. So that's like 12 worksheets in one workbook, and that makes 5 workbooks for 5 years. So January to December data for 5 different years. So we needed to combine all of those things together, and my boss kept telling me that go and use Power Query. So I would go online, do a search on Power Query, how to combine multiple workbooks. All I would be seeing was just some very funny M codes that I never understood. Then I will go back to David and I will tell David that it's not possible. David will say, no, go and check it. It is possible. So after struggling for a couple of days, I found a way. And the way I even found, I couldn't find any documentation for that method at that time. So that was like my very first big win into this new product that now made me feel like, okay, I think I want to do this. And I now started to take up more and more challenges internally that had to do with cleaning up data and creating Power BI visuals as well. So when my hand became stronger on Power BI, then I don't know, maybe some of you will remember something I shared about the EPL or the European League, 1 point like that. I don't know if I can share my screen to just display it on Power BI desktop. So I just want to dig it up again today.
Okay, yes, you can. You can share your screen.
Okay,
then some questions have come in. Do you want me to read them out?
Okay, yeah.
Or you wait, I should hold on.
Yeah, I'll read them out while I try to share my screen as well.
Okay, great. Okay, great. By the way, I've already shared, in case some people need to connect with you, I've shared your website, your business website, I've shared your YouTube channel. Again, everybody, you can always connect with Ahmed via those, and you will get to see some of his very wonderful, insightful and unique sharings on YouTube. So question number 1 is from our own Padi Adewale Yusuf. So he's saying that I don't have accounting background. Can I still learn financial modeling? So that's his own question.
Okay.
Then maybe I'll read them again. Let me just quickly read all the questions so you will tell me how you want to answer, maybe one by one or
okay.
Like so someone else is asking, with data analytics tool like Python and R and Power BI taking over corporate world, the person is concerned about Excel. So you say, what's the future of Excel? So I guess maybe that was when you were talking about Excel is important for someone to move into the space. I guess maybe that was when that question came up. So that's that one. Then okay, someone is asking that, is it that we cannot use, okay, so can we use Power BI for financial modeling? So that's another. Then the last question, which is the best approach to grasping more knowledge of Power BI? Read ebooks and follow up the videos before trial with the software. So you're saying, should we read books and follow videos before we even go and try the software? Or read ebooks, watch videos, and simultaneously be practicing with the software? Or videos with simultaneous practice of the software? I think that's the same, huh? Or ebook with simultaneous trial of the software. I think it's the same thing he's saying. So question number 1, if I don't have accounting background, can I still learn financial modeling?
All right, so if you don't have an accounting background, then your first point is going to be to learn accounting. And the good thing is, these days, I think we have courses that are called like accounting for non-accountants, finance for non-finance managers, and those kind of courses. So you have to do a course on accounting for non-accountants. You have to do a course on finance for non-financial managers, so that you have that base background for you to be able to understand what the tutor is taking you in a financial modeling class, for example. So that's your first step. So I'm assuming that this person asking this question, I know him very well, is like a brother to me. So he has an excellent Excel background, and the only key thing that he thinks is missing for him now is accounting and finance background. So now you know what you have to do. Just go look for accounting for non-accounting course and finance for non-financial managers course. Those 2 courses are very key for you to gain entry into the finance industry. And of course, you are not going to stop at that. right? So you still have to read a couple of books, but I'm not an expert in that line anymore. So Michael is the expert that can shed more light, that can recommend the kind of books that you can read. And if I'm correct, I think Michael is also coming from a non-accounting background as well. So he'll be in a
Yes,
very better position to
from
answer
engineering.
this question. Yeah. So Michael will be in a better position to answer the question, but I don't know if he wants to go into it now. Let me just take all my questions, then let Michael
So
come in to take that one.
the
So the
second
second question,
question,
yeah.
yeah, is saying data analytics tool like Python, R, and Power BI taking over the corporate world. What is the future of Excel?
Okay, so let me start by saying that when the Python and the R guys fail to integrate with Excel at all, when they decide not to have anything to do with Excel again, then we can say the future of Excel is maybe getting over. Of course, not only Python and R, all the other softwares that you have out there, when they have nothing to do with Excel at all, when they start to ignore Excel, they don't have download to Excel, they don't have analyze in Excel, they don't have import from Excel or CSV, they don't have all those things, then you can consider that probably Excel is gone, right? But if you think about it, I'm not sure that is ever going to happen. Excel is very, very critical business decision making tool as well. So, but the only thing is, you always have to know what to use. So some things are better for you to do on Excel, some things are better for you to do with R, some things are better for you to do with Power BI, some are better for you to do with Python. But Excel as it stands is a king. Excel is like the king of all softwares. Let's just agree, we all agree to give that one to Excel, and every day Excel keep on to amaze us. Okay, so the person who has asked this question will probably have missed Victor's session, right? So if that person had attended Victor's session, then the person will know that yes, Excel always has a place in data analytics world. So I hope I'm able to answer that question as well.
So yes, then this question, this second to the last question, can we use Power BI for financial modeling?
Okay, so it's one of the areas that I have been kind of like fantasizing with. I know you can use Power BI to do financial reporting. I haven't tried my hands on financial modeling with Power BI, which also brings me back to the previous statement I made. Some things are better done on some tools than some other tools. So even if you are able to manage and manipulate Power BI to bring out a financial model, you know that Excel is always a better place for financial modeling. So it's extremely possible for you to do modeling with Power BI. You just have to kind of like think differently, come up with interesting DAX measures that will be able to do forecast, look at some inputs and forecast those data. And the good thing is these days, there is a custom visual now. I don't know if some of you have tried it. It's called financial something by profit base. That's the name of that custom visual. So that custom visual is built and tailored for financial data. So you can decide to pull in your data, for example, now, and you have your revenue, cost of goods, and the revenue minus cost of goods should give you gross profit. But because gross profit is not going to be part of your data, you need to calculate it. So that custom visual can allow you to add in rows in between your reports. So you want to do a subtotal now, you can do a subtotal in the middle of your report, and that has kind of like made everything easy. So what I've been thinking is trying to do a financial model in Power BI, for example. I already had that at the back of my head. If that will ever come out anytime soon, then that custom visual is going to play a very big part in that. So, but to cut the long story short, it will be easier for you to do a financial model on Excel than for you to do it on Power BI, but it's very possible.
Okay, so the last question. So which is the best approach to grasping more knowledge of Power BI? So is it read ebooks and follow up with videos before practicing with the software? Or read ebooks and be watching videos and at the same time be practicing with the software?
Okay, so I remember, I think last year, 2019, I wrote something about this. So these days, not like those days. So the days that I was referencing with Michael were the days when there were no enough materials out there. But these days I wrote about it, and I feel the best way for you to start learning is to attend a class first. And the reason is this: so when you attend a class, you have a very big picture of everything within 2 or 3 days, or at most within 5 days. Then you can now go back and read a book or watch some more videos. So if you go to YouTube, for example, some people kind of like say they learn Power BI from YouTube. So when you learn Power BI from YouTube, except you have a full course that was packaged and dumped on a YouTube channel that you can learn from, that is organized, then it's not going to be an effective way of learning Power BI. So first thing, go to a class, learn a full curriculum that is organized. Then you can now think about reading a book. So when you now start reading that book, that's going to broaden your knowledge from what you have learned in the class. Then you now have to follow up all of those things with YouTube videos. So there are so many YouTube channels out there that do a lot of things on Power BI. And the very last important one there is the monthly updates that Power BI ship out. So those monthly updates are very, very important. They are kind of like what I call my own CPD. So when you're an accountant or you're an HR person or stuff like that, you belong to a body that is a chartered body. They always have something they call continual professional development, which means you must add value to yourself every now and then. So for me, my CPD is the monthly updates that Power BI releases, and there's no time there's an update that I don't get to watch the video from start to ending, because it gives me new knowledge on the tool as well. So if you are able to even learn something new throughout the time, then you can always rely on that one. So that part I feel is clear. So if I want to state it out again, I will say number one, attend a class. Number two, read a book. Then number three, follow up with YouTube videos. And number four, you now have to do your own CPD, which I just explained now, which is watching the monthly Power BI updates releases. And of course, you shouldn't discount practice. You must continue to practice with new data set every now and then. Challenge yourself by answering questions, and also challenge yourself by looking at some of the questions that people have answered as well. Okay, so
great,
do we
thanks.
have yeah,
there was some questions that have come in, but I'm thinking maybe we should just let you go, and then after we'll collate those ones too and ask. Two questions have come in, but I don't know. I don't want to detract from your own plan.
Yeah, but you can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's live. Yes.
All right. So this is something I created in 2017. Was it? What was the first year here? 2017, 2018. So I created this in 2017. I kind of like just went online to look for data on football, of course, because of my interest in football as well, and not doing anything out of the ordinary. But the most challenging part of this report that you guys are seeing now is this league table that you see here. Okay, so everything was done on Power BI, no Excel help, no help from any other tool. It's just connected directly to the data source online. Maybe I'll find the link sometime and share. So connected that data source online straight to Power BI desktop, and then do a couple of manipulations, so many back-end manipulations on Power Query, and a couple of DAX measures as well for us to be able to arrive at this. So when I say this is the most challenging part of the table, what I mean is this. So if you follow football, for example, then you know that this is how the league table always appears. You have your teams, you have the number of matches they played, which is I put here as P, number of matches won, the draws, the loses, the goals scored, the goals conceded, the goals difference, and the points. Okay, so the challenge I had here was how to deal with ties. So you know that when two teams have the same number of points, then you now have to go and look at which one has the higher goals difference, right? So the one that has the higher goal difference is going to be at the top of the one with the lower goal difference on the table. And that means in doing my ranking, this ranking that you see here, so this ranking is what is going to arrange the table based on the top teams and the lower teams. So in doing this ranking now has to be based on more than one thing. Of course, it has to be based on more than points. It also has to be based on goals difference as well. So that's one I looked for help online. Of course, I've not even gone back to check the DAX code I was able to use to do this, but obviously I didn't understand that DAX code. So maybe I'll go back to look at it sometime later. But what this whole thing does is to show us league tables of different leagues in Europe. Of course, I picked the top 5 leagues. So if I change from English league now to French league, I would expect to see the table for French league for that particular season. So now this is 2018-2019 season. If I pick another season, for example, then I would have the league table change for that one as well. Then on the right hand side there, I just created something to show the winning rate for each team. Just a little chart to show how much each team are doing, and I decided to make this one show at full time and at half time. So just in case you want to compare, some teams are better, they perform better at halftime, but somehow they lose momentum towards full time. And I think I was able to get some stories on this when I created it at first. So let me go to Spanish League, for example. So if I come to Spanish League and I pick 2018, 2019, or let me use 2017, 2018, that was a full season as at that time. So looking at this now, you will see that at halftime, Madrid should have been crowned the champions. Real Madrid should have been crowned champions if we consider points based on halftime alone. So if you go at halftime and you are leading, then you have 3 points. If you go to halftime, you are playing a draw, you have 1 point, something like that. But if I come and click on full time now, okay, so it's still Madrid. So let me check, maybe it's a different season, 2016, 2017. I can't remember. This has been a long time ago. So let me check with another season. Reports acting up. So I think when you share your screen again on Teams, it kind of like slows some of your other applications. So this is 2016, 2017 at full time, Madrid at halftime. Oh. I really can't remember which of those seasons this was again, but I thought it should be 2017, 2018. Yeah. Halftime, Madrid, full time. Anyway, so the whole idea of these reports at that time was to kind of like check 1 or 2 things. Yeah, so see, this actually 2017, 2018. So if you check this 2017, 2018, you see that if I check my table based on full-time results, then you see that Barcelona was crowned champion. So Barcelona was champion for this season. But if we were to go by halftime results, only halftime results, then you will see that Madrid should have been crowned as champions. Okay, so Madrid should have been crowned champion based on halftime results. So I was just kind of like playing around with data I had to create different scenarios in my head. I also created a separate tab for head-to-head. So if I wanted to check if 2 teams were going to play this weekend, for example, and I wanted to see what has been their head-to-head over a couple of seasons to find out which team could have an edge over the other team, then I would be able to see that report by myself without having to rely on any other analyst. So, but for those guys that are very much interested in betting, I had a couple of friends back then that wanted me to make this really big, but I didn't like their objective for wanting it bigger than this. So the report is kind of slow now. I'm sure if I have to do this all over again, I'll be able to optimize a couple of things to make it faster. So this one just shows different teams from different leagues, just like the other one, and you can pick your teams. Let's say I like to pick something like Arsenal and Liverpool. If I pick Arsenal now versus Liverpool as a away team, then I can see, I think I limited this to the most recent seasons. Then I want to see their statistics as per how many full-time win, how many draws, how many half-time win, what is their possibility of scoring over one goal and stuff like that. So these are the kind of things that people use to make their bets. So this is just something I had to work on, and I actually created this as a competition for some other guys to do last year, which I promised 300 USD, and unfortunately Nigerians did not participate. So, but I'm sure more Nigerians now know how to use Power BI now, and if I create a competition, and you guys are going to chop my money. So let's take some of the new questions that we have.
Okay, all right. So let me fire the questions in the order they came. Huh?
Yeah. So I'm going to stop my screen share now.
Okay. So someone is asking,
Yes.
Between import and direct query, which would you advise and why, please? Then it's
Okay.
still the same person, no? You know,
Yeah.
say, can I aggregate function?
What's aggregate? Okay, let me answer the one I can answer first, then we'll come back to the one that is not very clear to me. So when it comes to choosing between importing and direct query, the first thing you want to understand is the reason why you want to use import. So if your data set is very, very large, for example, you have big data, then it will be better for you to do a direct query than for you to do an import into your Power BI. But at the same time, you need to consider some of the limitations of using direct querying. So for example, now if you use direct query, because you are querying the data source directly, then you will not be able to do something like calculated column, whereby you want to derive a column by yourself. You just want to derive an additional column based on one or two things. You won't be able to do that because you are querying the source directly. So you have to consider those kind of limitations. If you don't have data set that is too large and you can manage to do import, then you should go and use import mode and just use the data gateway or whatever to make sure you are able to automate your refresh as soon as you would like it. So depending on your version of Power BI license, the one that allows you to refresh 8 times a day, or maybe you want to explore some Power Automate or Power, what's it called? What's the other one of Power Automate called again? Michael, can you remind me?
Is it
Power
Microsoft?
Automate. I was
Power
thinking Power Apps. So Power Automate,
Okay.
you want to explore some Power Automate methods that will allow you to refresh your data more frequently and things like that. So those are the things you need to consider: your size of data and the limitations that you have with direct query mode. So the other part, aggregates, I really don't get what that question is.
Well, the way you just wrote it is between import and direct query, which one would you advise and why, please? Can I use the aggregate function? That's how he wrote the question.
Okay. Yeah.
Then
So
okay. I think he wrote the second part. So he said, can I use aggregate function to group my data set and build my visuals on this to manage performance rather than using the raw file?
yeah, so you can always use aggregates when you have big data. In fact, that is the objective of creating that particular functionality in Power BI. So when you have very big data sets, especially data set that updates like almost every hour, or let's say every hour of the day. So instead of having just one single date, today is 19th of June. Just have one single date, 19th of June. You now have several 19th of June in your data. So you want to kind of like do an aggregation of all the 19th to become only one to optimize your performance. So that is the essence of the aggregate in Power BI. So, but still, you should understand that the benefit of aggregates is much more visible when your data is very large, and the granularity that you are using to aggregate is something you also need to consider. So for example, now if you need to carry out your reports daily and your data has come daily, your data is not too large, then you would not want to do aggregate. You would not want to aggregate your data to go to the month level. So you just want to leave it like that. So just consider that aggregate is mainly for big data, and you only enjoy the benefits when you use it on big data. So you won't really see much difference if you use it on normal data set that is not so large.
Okay, so the last one that we have right now is, can we write a ML algorithm using logistic regression algorithm in Power BI in the Python editor, or only used for Python? This question, Gek. Let me read it again. Can we write a ML algorithm like logistic regression algorithm in Power BI in the Python editor, or it is only used
I think
for Python visuals?
Okay, so I think I understand what he's trying to say. What he meant to write was whether you can use a regression algorithm in Power BI query editor. You know, you can use Python in query editor. You can also use Python for visualization. So, but that is one area that I have not or never ever explored. But if I want to just use my experience to judge it, then I would believe that you should, I don't know if I'm right or not, maybe Michael will have my idea, but I think you should be able to do such or using the visuals, the Python visualization. But of course, maybe some underlying work like creating your training data set and all of those things you can do on Power Query, on the query editor with the Python language. So I'm not really in the best position to answer this kind of machine learning algorithm question with Power BI.
I was thinking maybe what he wants to know is that can he use the Python code that
Power BI now allows us to be able to do? Can he use it to do on the kind of level of what we do with calculated column, with even Power Query, you know, it to feed it into a visual?
Hello?
Okay, did you hear what I said?
No, I just said Power Query feed into the visual. Like, can he use what again? Can he use Python code?
Yes, to create the equivalent of things like calculated column, or even the kind of things we do on the Power Query side, versus just using it to feed into a visual.
Okay, I understand. So there is a level of things you can do. I believe you would be able to use Python codes to add columns, but that's within Power Query now. But you won't be able to do that inside Power BI. So once you load your data to Power BI, you are done with data preparation. Then the only thing that you are left with your Python code is to visualize. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think at least we've answered it from whatsoever angles that he probably has. So we are now running out of time. Are there still other things you want to share before I ask the general questions we usually ask our guests?
Well, let me just take the general question that can bring up whatever thing I may want to share. Yeah.
Okay, great. So one of the things that actually informed this office hour stuff, because originally the idea people used to feel overwhelmed. Let us just be taking bite size, once a week, take one thing, and which I used to do on and off for like 2 years. And then recently, this whole lockdown has been making one have too much time. So sometimes the only thing you can do, you begin to overdo them. So I've been seeing a lot of people, even me, that I'm in Nigeria, and I'm getting invitations to come and be a guest in events. And I noticed that people like it when they hear your story outside of all these normal, class as if you are teaching them all the time. They would like to hear from other people their stories. So why I'm even saying all this background is, in the Power BI space, you are the most visible person in Nigeria. And the thing is, when I say you're the most visible person, it's good. It's good that you are telling your story right now, but most people know you from the work you have done, from what you are doing, and they don't get to only some of us in Nigeria Excel user communities that get to hear some of these other personal side of your stories. And so this is something that I guess a lot of people will be really happy to be able to see that there's, there was a time that you have abandoned the Power BI. You are like, oh boy, this one is not for me. And then you came back to it. There was a time that Excel 2 was something that you really didn't know. And then so people like all those kind of things. And so back to the general question, because I want your answer to be expanded. That's what I'm saying. The general question is usually for someone who is starting right now. When I say starting right now, it might not just be meaning the person just finished school. It might just be that the person at this stage in his life has decided that he wants to switch. It could be 40, 30, it could be 25, it could be 22, but he's new to this space. And what advice will you have, so that the person can go about it in a much more, I know you've mentioned, do training, do more research, but I just want you to just say, whatever other things you have in mind regarding people like that, because a lot of people have that frustration.
Yes. Okay. So what I'll say is, for anybody that wants to get into this space fresh, or maybe anybody that wants to get into any space afresh, starting is the key. So you have to start, and then you have to be consistent. Those are the two key things: starting and consistency, right? So whether you are able to see progress or not is not an issue, right? So, but if you start now, for example, and you keep at it for like 3 months and you think you are not doing well and you stop, then it's going to be your loss. But if you keep at it for like 1 year, no matter how difficult it is, you keep on making little progress like that. And this is also from experience, from my own personal experience as well, because when I got into D Brown, for example, I was like maybe the latest recruit in D Brown. I didn't know I was making any progress until we had new staff. So when we had new staff, then I was feeling like, wow, so I know a lot. So if this guy doesn't know all these things, that means, wow, I must have come a long way. So that was when I realized that if you keep at something, then you would start improving a lot on it. Even though if you're unable to see the difference in how much you have come, you can't really put a tangible figure to how far progress you have made. Just know that there is always progress. So the key is start and be consistent. And this also takes me back to one guy. I don't know if you guys know Rob Colley. So if you go to Google now, for example, just type on Google, Rob Colley, I have shortchanged you. Just type it there. Rob Colley, I have shortchanged you. It will bring you to one of Rob Colley's blog posts in 2010. Rob Colley is a top DAX person, a top DAX author, a top DAX content creator as well. His books is one of the best books you can read if you want to learn DAX. Go and read what Rob Colley wrote in 2010 about DAX. Rob Colley had not learned time intelligence functions in 2010, even though he was one of the top guys at that time. So it takes time for you to build these skills. Don't be looking at how much it's going to take you for you to get to an expert level. So if you think about that, you may be deterred to be kind of like, what do I call this now? To be vigorous about your learning. So just make sure you start and make sure you are consistent. And then before you know it, you will find yourself in a better place.
Wow, thank you for that. And I think no more questions. So we've tackled all the questions. So at this point, are you okay with me wrapping it off, or you still have any things you want to say? By the way, I need to again mention to everybody, I will repost the links to his website and his YouTube channel. If I can also try and grab his LinkedIn too, because he's also active on LinkedIn. Let me see if I can grab that. So you make sure you connect with him. And also we have I don't know which one. Which one should I share, the Telegram or the WhatsApp? Which one do you prefer?
I think the WhatsApp is full.
It's full. So let's share the Telegram. Okay.
Yeah.
The Telegram community. And there are even two. There is one that is for Power Platform, which is a larger one that, in fact, I think you should be part of that. And there's one that's just for Power BI. I'm going to share that also. So, right. So any other things you want to tell them, or are you okay with me just wrapping it up here?
Yeah, so let me just advise them to always be part of communities, because that is where you continue to to learn. You see people's challenges, you challenge yourself as well. So learning all of these things on your own can be very, very daunting. You can feel alone and you can feel like you want to stop it. It's getting too difficult. But if you belong to all of these communities that Michael is going to share with you, then it will also help you in your development on Power BI.
Okay. So that's a very good one to end with. So once again, I want to thank everyone. I think some two new. Let's see if there are questions. Okay, so there is a question. That's good. So I can use, as you're answering it, I'll be posting the links. It says, which is your best Power BI?
My best Power BI. I didn't get that. Best Power BI what?
Which your best Power BI project of all the projects that you've been involved with? Which one do you consider your best? And when it says best, it means okay, what were the challenges and why will you say this one is the one that it stands out in your mind?
Okay, so the one I always talk about is the one where we're doing a project for. Don't let me mention the industry because they are not so much in that industry. If I mention it, everybody will just know it. So we were running a project anyway. We were called in for an invitation to bid for that project. Of course, they were not really sure which tool they would like to use for that project, but they just called in different consultants, and then we went in to present a Power BI solution for that project. And the good thing is they gave us data for demo, and they also gave us timeline to report back. To report whatever we have created, we have to bring it back and present that report to them. And we only had about, I think we collected data on Friday, was supposed to present on Monday or Tuesday, and we had to create something between Saturday and Sunday. It was very crazy because the solution we actually implemented involved a lot of heavy Power Query stuff. So between Saturday and Sunday, I was working with one of my colleagues then, and it got to a point we were working till very late in the night and we're very tired. Then I told my colleague, because we were on deadline, we had to deliver on Monday. And I told my colleague, I said, you know what, let's go home, close this laptop and let's go home. And then she was like, we have to complete this. And I was like, don't worry about it. Close the laptop, let's go. I'll figure it out tomorrow. And then we went home, I rested my head, and then thinking about the whole thing again, I was able to see insights into what we needed to do to make everything work. So by Monday, we went for our presentation, and the client was very happy with what we presented. They liked what we did, and they were surprised that we were the first person to come up with a solution. So eventually we got that job, and the best part of it is because we've already created a demo, that demo just stood like a model. It's like a model for the whole project. So there was nothing more to do. I had done all the hard work in 2 days, and the 2 days kind of like is just the solution for the whole project. So that's one I always remember forever. That was my best project.
Wow. That's a very nice one. So thank you very much. I think let me just read one more question. Okay, no more questions there. Someone is just saying all the platforms look intimidating.
Yes,
people
please
are
don't allow
thinking
the platform to be intimidating. I know why the person is saying the platform is intimidating. I know why. And I'm sure most people's concerns, I always share it with Michael as well, is the language. The person can confirm if it's true or not, the DAX language. We are working on something that will simplify that language for people like us, basically. Something is going to come up sometime this year, so that you stop being scared of DAX.
Yes, sir. So thank you, and let me just let you do small advertisement. Do you have any course or anything that people can sign up to that you're running? At least that's one way we can say thank you for your time.
Yeah, okay. So for you guys that have been able to attend this webinar, I have a course on Udemy. My Power BI course is on Udemy, and it's not doing badly. I launched it in January, and it's one of the top Power BI courses on there. So is what I sell at the moment, e-course, and I'm working towards creating courses on DAX and Power Query as well. Although most of the time you get to access those things for free because I'm chasing a personal goal, a personal project, which you guys can help me to also chase that project as well. So we are looking at getting up to 10,000 people in Nigeria to learn Power BI. So let's get to that level. Currently now, only about 3,000 Nigerians have been able to access my course for free. And my personal target is to get it to 10,000. So that is one way that you guys can also help me as well. So when you see me share the link for the free course at the beginning of the month, you can just help me broadcast it to your connections as well. So let's get everybody prop up to that level.
Great. What a noble one. Great. So you've heard. Just connect with him on LinkedIn, because I noticed that whenever you share it, you always also share on your LinkedIn. So I'm going to pull up his LinkedIn direct connection link, or if you type, I think he's the most popular person with that name, so I don't think you will get confused of which one to sign to hand. But if I can get his link directly, now I'm going on LinkedIn to pull it up. So once you connect with him on LinkedIn, whenever he shares, I think you used to call it his 3 o'clock. So whenever he shares that it is 3 o'clock, if you have not taken advantage of the course, make sure you do. And if you have already, make sure you help him rebroadcast. And if you really even want to take the course and you don't need to wait to when it does his 3 o'clock, I'm going to share also the link to the course, so that way you can always join in. You can take the course without having to wait till it's 3 o'clock also too. So thank you once again, everyone. And if you're in the community, those links we're going to send again to everybody. So we need to wrap it up now. So from me, from Ahmed, we want to say have a nice rest of the night and a wonderful weekend to you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.